Superhero films are big business. The Avengers, the Dark Knight trilogy, the Iron Man trilogy, X-Men, these are all huge earners for Hollywood. Most of the time, they are actually quality films too, cleverly written, put together well, and marketed properly. But there is a problem, and it seems as if Hollywood is content to bury its head in the sand so long as the next Captain America or Thor movie does well at the box office. How many women and ethnic minority superheroes have starred in these films lately?
Now, one might argue this might be wrong because of some older superhero films starring a woman or ethnic minority in a supporting role.
So let's define some parameters, otherwise someone will bring up the old Supergirl movie, and honestly, if you have to look back more than a few years for examples, you may have already proven yourself wrong. Now let's look at the modern era of Hollywood superhero films and, admittedly, arbitrarily pick a cutoff date. So how about the release of Batman Begins in June of 2005? Also, said characters must be the star, not supporting characters like War Machine in the Iron Man trilogy, or Storm as part of an ensemble cast in the X-Men trilogy. And now we have a list. Every single American superhero movie since the release of Batman Begins has had a white male as the main character's superhero, except for one. The Iron Man trilogy had a female assistant who eventually donned the armor and became a superhero herself, and an African-American supporting player, but it starred Robert Downey Jr. Green Lantern could have been about the African-American Green Lantern, John Stewart, but it was about Hal Jordan instead, and it starred Ryan Reynolds. There are females and ethnic minorities in the supporting casts of these films, but not the main star and title superhero. The one exception to this has been 2008's Hancock, starring Will Smith. It was not based on any existing comic book character. Will Smith was cast because he's a massive box office draw. This is the one outlier. People will say Elektra and Catwoman, but these movies were earlier, and again, if one needs to look back that far, and still come up with so few examples, it's not a point to be made. My Super Ex-Girlfriend is not an action movie, and it really stars Luke Wilson. People love War Machine, and yes, he's great, but he was not the star or the titular superhero. Giving the Avengers one female member in an ensemble film is not giving a female the starring role, the main role. Frankly, for an ensemble film, it featured Iron Man, Captain America, and Thor more prominently than the others. One could argue that is because those three characters had their own movies recently, but that just proves the point further. Even alternative superhero films like Kick-Ass and Super both starred a white male as well.
Hit Girl and Bolty were not the main or titular characters,
so even breaking away from DC and Marvel does not end this cycle. Although, if the superhero films followed DC and Marvel comics more closely, we would have more diversity. Hollywood superhero movies of late have almost always starred white men, but as of this moment, there are female heroes who are the title character in their own comics, like She-Hulk, Batgirl, Catwoman, and Harley Quinn. People of color also have their own comics, like Batwing and Miss Marvel. There is a homosexual superhero, Batwoman, with her own comic. She's not a supporting character or a sidekick. How are comic books so far ahead of film in this regard? Some say that everything will change soon because Wonder Woman is coming. She has been cast, and now she is going to appear in a new DC Universe movie called Batman vs. Superman, as a supporting player. To Batman and Superman. This is not a win. The most famous female hero in comic books is making her big screen debut as a lesser character in a film starring two men. Granted, there is talk that if people like Wonder Woman in Batman vs. Superman, she may get her own movie. Two problems with that. First, why on earth are we trusting Hollywood to follow through on doing the right thing? Are we really holding our breath? Second, Batman vs. Superman won't debut until May of 2016. That means that even if Hollywood greenlights the Wonder Woman film mere days after the release of Batman vs. Superman and gets to work right away, we, the audience, are still going to have to wait until 2018 or 2019 for a female superhero to have the main role in a major motion picture. The Wonder Woman film has been delayed and called off so many times, and now we have to wait until we see the box office numbers for another film starring two white men before Hollywood will even consider a movie starring the most famous comic book superheroine of all time. Why can't Scarlett Johansson be Black Widow in her own movie? She appeared in Iron Man 2, The Avengers, and soon she will appear in Captain America, Winter Soldier. She is the top supporting character in the Marvel movie universe. Why doesn't she have her own film by now? Why can't Idris Elba play Green Lantern? The first Green Lantern movie bombed. Why not have a stronger actor than Ryan Reynolds? Why can't Donald Glover play Cyborg? He's in the Justice League in the comics now, he's high profile, why isn't this happening? The movie Steel did not fail because the star was African American. It failed because it was a bad movie. Catwoman did not fail because the star was female. It failed because it was a bad movie. Why does Hollywood think black, gay, or female equals box office bomb? The why of this is actually fascinating and scary. American film studios see straight white male as the default. That 18 to 34-year-old male demographic is the sweet spot for producers, and since America is predominantly white, Hollywood feels they must cater to the ethnic majority. This is insulting to ethnic minorities and women, obviously, but it is also insulting to white people because it suggests they will only see a movie if the star is Caucasian and preferably has a Y chromosome. Women have starred in highly successful and profitable action movies. In fact, there are so many that they should be considered the rule rather than the exception. Tomb Raider, the entire Resident Evil series, Alien, Aliens, the Underworld films, Terminator, Terminator 2, The Hunger Games and Catching Fire, Kill Bill Volumes 1 and 2, Charlie's Angels movies, and a lot more. Also, if white people don't want to see movies starring black people, why are Samuel L. Jackson, Morgan Freeman, Will Smith, and Eddie Murphy among the highest-grossing actors of all time? Dwayne Johnson was the highest-grossing actor in 2013. In other words, this theory held by Hollywood has a lot of holes. This is a problem with the mindset of the decision-makers in Hollywood in general, not just superhero films, but the focus today is on superheroes because this has become the biggest action movie explosion of the past several years. In 2013, 2 of the top 5 highest-grossing films were Iron Man 3 and Man of Steel. In 2012, same thing except it was The Avengers and The Dark Knight Rises. Basically, these are the movies that people want to see. These are where all the eyeballs are. And that means perception is important. Representation is critical. Why must it always be a straight white man who saves the world? No doubt there is a racist, homophobic, and misogynist element to America. That much cannot be denied. However, it does not appear to have greatly impacted the box office or what people actually want to see. These elements seem to have more impact on the people who make the decisions and tell us we don't want female superheroes. We don't want a black or Hispanic superhero. We don't want gay superheroes. And yet there is so much evidence to the contrary. Admittedly, making a comic book takes less financial investment than making a movie. That much is true. There is greater risk involved with film. Yet, constantly going back to the straight white male superhero still screams of cowardice, not to mention ignorance. By blocking Wonder Woman for so long or keeping black actors out of starring roles in superhero films, Hollywood is not giving us enough credit.
With this in mind, shouldn't we all feel insulted?